Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Andre and I'm your bookworm, and today we have a whole new display, as you can see, because I finally have been able to set up my new recording space, even though I think it will be a bit too echoey. I'll need to check that out with the sound. Comment down below if you think the sound is okay or not. But anyways, today we are going back to Lord of the Mysteries, the anime adaptation, and we are reviewing episode 6. For the ones that are new here, I'm just reviewing episode by episode the new anime adaptation of the web novel with the same name, Lord of the Mysteries, written by Cuttlefish That Loves Diving, or the Chinese name who I cannot pronounce. But aside from that, if you want to check out either the web novel or the reviews of the previous episodes, I have plenty of videos talking about it. Just follow through, look at them, and then come back and watch the rest, because gotta keep going with this, right? You can't just stop halfway. Another thing I need to mention is there will be spoilers for this episode and for some things regarding the web novel. Nothing too spoilery, just be aware if you don't want to hear anything whatsoever, then you might want to skip some things when I mention that there's a spoiler coming. But alright, let's start this episode, and we start off again with an action scene. This is starting to be very typical of Lord of Mysteries, starting an episode with a bang. And when we started, I was a bit confused about where we were, because it seems like every episode we're moving at the speed of light. The pacing is so fast. We are just jumping between not happenstance, but between different situations in different important scenes. And every time is just, okay, I need to situate myself because I read the web novel. For the ones that don't read the web novel, they're like, oh, okay, let's see what's happening in this episode. But anyways, we see another battle. We see some more powers from the Collector and from the Nightmare sequences, whilst we see at the same time Qian staying on the sidelines, which is good in my opinion. I mentioned this in previous reviews and I still go with it, which is Qian doesn't have the combat skills that the other members of the Nighthawks have, so him standing on the sidelines makes perfect sense. But also it will create a bigger expectation of when he finally is able to use combat skills or be involved in battles more fiercely, then it will become an even more distinct approach, a better level up sequence when you see that he finally has those powers or just those abilities. One thing that I did not mention, but I also think that the reason why I feel that the season is going by so fast is because indeed we do have a lot of important scenes that the anime needs to go through, but also on my part, I took a long time to read the web novel, and so I understand that it might seem that every single scene in the web novel took ages to happen, but that might just have been because I took ages to read it. So take that into account when I say that the pacing seems really fast. But okay, after this battle scene, we have a bit of a lull, and then we get to see a very important scene, which is Qian realizing that he is not all powerful and that he has some aspects that he needs to tone down and maybe wait. And this is because we see him getting an artifact that has been created from the blazing sun, one of the gods that exist in this world, and he tries to divinate the origins of this artifact. And by doing so, he actually sees that the artifact was done or built or made with a bit of blood of the god. And as he tries to touch it and tries to figure out deeply, he actually looks into the blazing sun, into the god. And because of that, he is kind of burnt alive in seconds. But thankfully, thanks to the fog realm, he is able to survive, and by just a nick, and he's able to realize, okay, maybe I just bit a bit more than I can chew, and so I kind of need to wait, figure out my potions, level up the sequences, and then maybe then will I be able to try to figure out these artifacts or their origins, or try to understand more about these gods. And I think this sequence was done really well, not only with the animation. I think it was really well done in terms of just the movements, the images that we were seeing, but also the pacing, leaving you a bit of suspense, and then suddenly there's that shock of what's happening, and then the calm again. So yeah, I think this scene was done good because it also gives you, the viewer, this sensation that, okay, Qian is kind of like an ant to these gods. He has no power, even though we are building him up throughout the season and trying to see like he is very lucky. He has all these coincidences happening towards him, but also he is not that great. And once this scene happens, we go back to the real world and we see the return of a character that had shown up before just once, which was Mr. Isaac Eggers. This was the professor of the university that Klein had visited, and in the previous episode, I think episode 3, we see Mr. Isaac suddenly invoke a skeleton quite tall, and the episode ends right there. Well, this character is back. He looks very creepy, very ominous. And I think this portrayal was not exactly how I saw Mr. Isaac. And I'm not entirely sure I agree with this choice. But I'll get into that later because we're going to get a plenty of Mr. Isaac. But the important part of this theme, in my opinion, is that we get some inklings from Mr. Isaac saying that Klein has his fate being messed with. Seems like something about his fate is being twisted and it's not following the normal pattern, whatever pattern that might be. And I think this is important because if you've read the web novel, you know exactly what this means, you know exactly what's happening. If you haven't, this is good at creating another plotline, another mystery that you're like, oh, okay, is this related somehow with all the other things that's been before? Or is this something new, another thing that we need to take into account? But yeah, that is just mentioned very briefly, and then we return back to the castle from the start of the episode. This time with only Klein and Mr. Isaac. And quickly we start realizing that Mr. Isaac actually has lived in that castle before a long time ago, and the wraith that the Nighthawks were battling at the start of the episode was actually Mr. Isaac's son. And this is where we get quite a long scene of Mr. Isaac's life, which I did not expect. Not saying it's bad, I say that it's long, but that is not necessarily a bad thing because this allowed us to be introduced to Mr. Isaac in a more deep manner. In the web novel, I don't think we are introduced to Mr. Isaac in this way, having so many of his past lives shown to us. We get glimpses, but I don't think they're ever in this detail. And I think this choice of choosing to show us different lives of Mr. Isaac and basically humanizing him, I think was good because immediately it allows us to connect more with his anguish and understand that he is a lot more powerful than we think he is, especially when we see that scene of him invoking a skeleton that is several meters tall and just going against an army. That was very powerful. Again, him coming out of the fire, being stabbed with spears, that was also very, very powerful. Again, this all just shows that Mr. Isaac, a completely different level from Klein, but at the same time, he has this deep and sorrowful part to him because of all the lives that he's gone through and seeing all his families die eventually. But I think this is the reason why the contrast between this humanized Mr. Isaac and the Mr. Isaac at the start of the episode when he is in the office being creepy and sinister towards Klein don't really merge too well. I thought that scene at the start could have been changed slightly so that he would be more of a brooding dark type instead of just a creepy dark that could murder you, because I didn't get that sensation that Mr. Isaac wanted to do any harm towards Klein. He was just worried about him, seeing that he was a student of the university and he was curious about some history. But once the history scene about Mr. Isaac ends, we go back to the present where Mr. Isaac tries to figure out who desecrated his son's tomb, and coincidentally it points out that Klein was the one who did it, even though Klein is completely unaware of it. So Mr. Isaac invokes this huge door, which the animation was amazing, seeing the door with all the eyes and then the gates opening and a whole mountain of skulls just tumbling down that door. I think it was a very, very good image. The animation was perfect in this moment. And then it kind of stopped suddenly with Mr. Isaac realizing that, again, Klein's fate had been messed with and he wasn't actually the one to blame for what had happened. And with this, they both happily return to their homes. Klein, before going in, he sees his siblings and he realizes that he could die at any moment, and because of that, he should really spend more time with them and create good memories, which, if you've read the web novel, You also know what this means. It's a little wink wink for the people who read it, who know everything that is yet to come and yet to pass. And that is pretty much the end of this episode. So, what are my overall thoughts? I thought it was a good episode. Again, there's some jumps in narratives. This time around, we didn't have that slice of life, that lull to see Qian improving, which, I mean, we don't need to have it in every single episode. We had in the previous two, so I'm happy for that. But at the same time, this episode gave us a lot to chew on, especially with Mr. Isaac, with the Blazing Sun amulet or relic, artifact, whatever you want to call it. And I understand that, yeah, the narrative does need to do some jumps just to keep the important scenes in, especially because the ones who read the web novel know perfectly well there's still a couple of important scenes that need to be at least seated and then eventually sewed when the episode comes at the right time. And again, I did enjoy Isaac's past lives. That scene where we saw the different lives that he lived was good. It humanized Mr. Isaac. It allows us as the viewers to connect more with him. So good job on that. Except for that choice of making him a bit too creepy. That wasn't as good, but it balanced out, I think. Now, I hope that the next episode we get some topics more related to Qian and his potion digestion and also the Nighthawk, seeing how him interact more with the different people in the Nighthawks, because again, we know they're important. We know they're going to show up in the few episodes that are left and even in future seasons if it gets renewed. So it is important to see Qian interacting with them. But now it's your turn. Let me know. What do you think? Did you like this episode? Do you think it's too much action, not enough action? Do you think Mr. Isaac should be creepy or should be broody? Comment down below and let me know. And if you're new, don't forget, subscribe, like the content, and I shall be seeing you on Thursdays and Sundays. And hopefully I'll be able to keep a good schedule while I'm on holidays. But if I don't, you know what's happening. So I'll see you soon.